Game on, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in to Box Score Media. This is the Box Score Media podcast, hosted by yours truly, Jake Heaton. It is Friday, February 7th, 2020. Hard to believe it's already February of 2020. Sitting here at 30 years old, wondering what the hell I did with the first part of my life, but not wondering what I'm going to do with the second part. It's right here on the airwaves of Box Score Media. So thanks for tuning in and supporting the show. A lot to get to today, but we'll start off, first of all, with recap of the trade deadlines in the NBA. Not really much to talk about other than D'Angelo Russell going to Minnesota. Definitely a bump with him, with him and Towns playing together, but I think they can hit a 5 or a 6 seed, but not much else. The West is pretty stacked. You got the Clippers, the Lakers, Denver, my Jazz. A lot of competitiveness up top, so I could see them being a fifth seed or a sixth seed in the West, but nothing higher than that. In return, the Golden State Warriors get Andrew Wiggins. I think honestly they need to maybe keep Steph Curry, keep Klay Thompson, start building around them. Maybe they think Andrew Wiggins can give them some size, but I don't think he's scrappy enough for them. They need somebody else like Draymond who's going to be scrappy, a mid-range shooter though, a better shooter than Draymond. So who knows? Unless somehow Steve Kerr, who's a legendary three-point shooter, a fantastic shooter in his day, maybe he can somehow give him some pointers, help him with his mid-range game. If that happens, who knows? Maybe they can actually get back to the glory days, what they were, just a couple of months ago. And then, of course, we had Andre Iguodala, former Golden State Warrior, going to Miami. And giving Miami, I don't see a lot from him during the rest of the season. I'd say keep him healthy. Try to use him for the postseason. Give the younger guys some experience. But I don't see I don't see him hitting 20 and 10 a night. It's very. He's past his prime, but his experience can help out a lot. So we'll see with Miami. Maybe they can. I got a friend at work thinking they're going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe to the NBA Finals, but I don't see it. I don't see them. As much as people want to talk crap about Philadelphia, I still think they're one of the top two teams in the East with them in Boston. So, but still, those were the big trades. Not a lot to talk about. The Clippers did get Marcus Morris. They got a little bit better, but I think it's the LA show this year, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Lakers, Clippers. Whoever wins the West is going to be them, and whoever wins, and whoever one of those two teams are, they're going to be winning the finals. So it's just that simple. All right, let's recap some scores from the NBA while we're on the subject. We'll go with Thursday scores. The Knicks over the Magic, 105-103. Pelicans over the Bulls. Bucks over the 76ers. We saw Giannis basically dominate Embiid all night. Giannis has proven to be a top 3 player. I still don't think he's the best. I think Kawhi's still the best. But the Bucks, again, I forget about them in the East. They're so damn good, but I still need to see Giannis step up when it counts the most. And we know with Toronto, he fell short. Are they all around good, or are they Giannis leading the way good? We don't know. We'll see. Trailblazers over the Spurs, and the Rockets beat the Lakers 121-111. All-Star game starting to come up in the next couple weeks. The teams were picked. LeBron took AD first, of course. He should have, and then Giannis took Embiid first. And then schooled his ass, so that's pretty funny. But not much else to talk about in the NBA. Let's move on to NCAA basketball on the men's side. Had some pretty good scores over the last couple days. On Tuesday, number 22 Penn State on the road took out number 16 Michigan State, 75-70. I have a feeling Tom Izzo is on the way out. I'm not he's always somebody that he's always a coach who knows how to get his team ready during tournament time. But I don't know. I'm not seeing any fire from them. They're not as dominant as they should be, especially since Kansas, North Carolina, and Duke aren't top heavy right now. They're not looking so good. Baylor's #1 right now. So I think Michigan State's got to step up. They got to step up in recruiting. They got to step up this year, and they got to show something over the next couple weeks before March Madness hits. Otherwise, if they get bounced out early in the tournament, I don't see how the confidence-wise they can get into the tournament and make some noise. And then Wednesday, we had number 19 Butler over Villanova, 79-76. Villanova, another team, top 10 that just number 10 Villanova, by the way. Another team just not looking so great. I don't know. It really is interesting, though, because it's a toss-up this year. With North Carolina struggling, with Kansas looking vulnerable, with Duke looking vulnerable, with Michigan State struggling to win really big, close games against ranked teams, it could be anybody's ball game. When tournament time comes around, who knows who's going to step up? Are we going to see a Cinderella finally win it? I'm on the mindset I don't really mind it, because too many times, even when a 3 seed wins the tournament, it's like, really, a 3 seed? So they were ranked like 12th in the midseason. So it's not a big deal to me. Whoever wins the tournament's all about the tournament. Whoever wins the national championship most of the time isn't the best team in college basketball. It's the team that's hot at the right time. So I'm not sold. I'm not of the mindset that it looks bad if a Cinderella wins the tournament. Forget about it. Let's make some noise. Let's get some eyes. Let's give another team a chance, something that college football won't do. Give the small guys a chance because they're afraid they're going to embarrass it. Well, you know what? It's part of the game. Give them a chance, all right? We also had, on Thursday, Colorado over California, 71-65. Arizona over USC, 85-80. Number 25, Houston over Tulane, 75-62. And number 2, Gonzaga, who is I'm very, very close. I said Louisville winning the championship. I'm very close to switching to Gonzaga. Consistency. They're really not taking any games off. They've got a few holes, but they're good enough to make some noise. They won 85-67 over at Loyola. And, they'll cruise through the whatever conference they're in, the Western, Mountain West, doesn't really matter. They'll cruise in that, and they'll be a number 1 seed, and who knows, maybe get some redemption. So, very interesting to see there. Top 25 for college basketball. Number 1, Baylor. Number 2, Gonzaga. Number 3, Kansas. Who did end up receiving 1 first-place vote. I don't get that, considering they got their butts whipped by Baylor, and they're 2 games back. So I don't see why anybody would say that deserves a number one spot in the rankings. I don't get that. Number 4, San Diego State, still undefeated. And number 5, Louisville, my pick to win it all. Number 6, UD, go Flyers. I'm from Dayton, so it's nice to see a team from the Ohio area making some noise, especially them. They're 20-2 on the season. Probably going to win the Atlantic 10 Conference. Number 7, Duke. Number 8, Florida State. Number 9, Maryland. Number 10, Villanova. 11 through 15, Auburn, Seton Hall, West Virginia, Oregon, and Kentucky. Number 16 through 25, you got Michigan State, who will fall. Iowa, LSU, Butler, and Illinois. And 21 through 25, Creighton, Penn State, Arizona, Colorado, and finally at number 25 in the top 25, AP poll rankings college basketball. Hey, let's give it up for Houston, the Cougars. Woohoo! Okay, women's scores from yesterday. Can't always forget about the ladies, because I never forget about the ladies. Number 8, Mississippi State over Tennessee, 72-55. Another school in basketball for the women's side that's fallen off the earth. They used to be top 5 every single year with Pat Summitt. Now they're kind of starting to slip back into mid-level SEC. Number 7, NC State over Virginia Tech. Kentucky over Alabama. Iowa over Nebraska. Number 5, Louisville falls to number 17, Florida State, 67-59 at home. Number 13, Maryland over Indiana, 79-69. Number 1, South Carolina dominant over number 25, Arkansas, 86-65. I'm a sucker for the 125 matchup. I just love that. Love it. And number 11, Gonzaga over Pacific, 83-65. Top 25 in women's polls. South Carolina, Baylor, Oregon, Connecticut, and Louisville, top 5. Stanford, NC State, Mississippi State, Oregon State, and UCLA, 5 through 10. 11 through 15, you got Arizona, Maryland, DePaul, Kentucky. 16 through 20, Texas A&M, Florida State, Indiana, Arizona State, and Iowa. And rounding out the top 25, you got Northwestern, South Dakota, Tennessee, Missouri State, and finally Arkansas. So, keep it up, ladies. All right. Now, I kind of wanted to avoid talking about this, but me being such a football lover, I can't. As many of you know, the XFL starts this week. 8 games. I think the first 4 games are Saturday or Sunday. Broadcast on ESPN, ABC, so they're getting backing from the networks. They're playing in NFL stadiums, some teams. So I don't know that like the New York Guardians are playing at MetLife Stadium. So should be interesting. If you listen to the podcast on Monday, you know my position on the XFL. I give it 2 years and it's going to fold. I hope it doesn't. I hope I'm proven wrong, but I just don't see how you can compete. And it's not really competing, and even if they don't want to compete against the NFL and work together with them. The problem is we just had 4 months of football. From college football to the NFL. You just played the Super Bowl, and a week later you're trying to do the XFL. You got to give it a little bit of time. So I don't understand why they can't wait a few months. Maybe April. You know, just right before college basketball's March Madness picks up. But you do have some interesting games. The Seattle Dragons versus the DC Defenders. LA Wildcats versus the Houston Roughnecks. Those are Saturday's games. On Sunday, you got the Tampa Bay Vipers versus the New York Guardians. And then the St. Louis Battlehawks versus the Dallas Renegades. Of course, you have ABC, Fox, ESPN broadcasting these games. So they're getting help. I mean, it's not like the AAF. They're trying. But again, it's like, how sick are we of football? I love football. I could watch football every day. But even then, I know people are out there going to get sick of it, and they need a break from it. So it'll be interesting to see with the rule changes. I know they got stuff like you can go for 1 point, 2 points, or 3 points after a touchdown, depending on how far back. They have eliminated extra points on kickoffs. They're not allowed to actually run after the ball carrier until after he's caught the ball. So that's a few different rules that they're trying to protect the players as well as keep the clock moving more. But of course, the big one for me is going to be replays. You know, like, what are you going to do for replays? You know, let the game go. You know, if it's a scoring play, review it. If it's, you know, questionable, if it's obvious, forget about it, and have the officials take the time. You know, once the play is determined on replay, forget about looking at it from a different angle. You don't need to. If the ball hit the ground, it should be stopped right there. You know, but I don't know. I'll definitely catch some highlights if I don't watch it, if I'm not too busy, and just to see what kind of product they have. You know, they've really dug deep on quarterbacks. They're trying to focalize. You know, they want that to be the centerpiece is the quarterbacks. I don't blame them there. Landry Jones, they're considering the face of the XFL because he was a good backup. But I don't know. I look at Cordell Jones from former quarterback of Ohio State. You know, he's sitting there with a good arm. You know, if you surround him with a good team, who knows? I think that's kind of the thing they're making Landry Jones the guy right now because he's got the most notoriety as far as a NFL quarter, as a professional. But they're going to get some players. I wouldn't doubt the AAF even got some players. So the XFL is definitely going to get players with more coverage. So work your ass off there. Get to the NFL, get the big paychecks, and if you fall in the NFL, it is nice to know that there's a league that actually pays players. And another interesting thing about the XFL is that you don't have to be a 3-year out of high school player to play in it. You can come right out of high school. You're gonna get smoked if you come right out of high school and play football. That's just one sport. Oh, I think probably hockey is another one. The more contact sports, the more contact that it is in the sport, the more you're gonna need some amateur time. So anybody who wants to come, any linebacker, offensive lineman, defensive lineman that wants to come out there and try to go straight out of high school to the XFL, they're going to get smacked around pretty quick, and they're going to wish. And since you play professional, you won't be able to go back to college. So a lot to think about, a lot to digest. I'm hoping for at least a good first season, and it starts with week 1, making sure the games run smoothly. They're not too long. They're competitive. A lot of interesting plays. You're going to need to see highlights. You're going to need one-handed catches. You're going to need big pops. You're going to need great broadcasting. You're going to need all this stuff and make it work for it to succeed. Otherwise, 2 years from now, you're going to be calling bankruptcy again, Vince McMahon. So that kicks off this weekend. Other games to watch. We got some good games in the NBA. Give me a second to bring it up here. All right, tonight, Trailblazers taking on the Jazz. The Jazz have got to win this one. I think they've lost like 6 out of their last 8. They got to have this one. They've played some competitive teams. They've lost some teams they need to beat. They got to get this one over the Trailblazers. Utah 10-point favorites at home. They got to get it. They'll cover. They'll beat them by more than that. Mavericks taking on the Wizards. Grizzlies 76ers. Hawks taking on the Celtics. Pistons taking on the Thunder. Pacers Raptors. Rockets, Suns, in the late game, the Heat taking on the Kings. Sacramento, 19-31, and they're 1.5-point favorite. I think they're thinking about Iguodala coming in there and maybe taking away a lot of the focus of the other players. And without that, they're going to be lost. They're traveling from Miami to Sacramento across country, so that's always a big one. That's always a pitfall. And Saturday's NBA games, you got the Bucks, Magic, Mavericks, Hornets, Knicks, Pistons, Nets, Raptors, Pelicans, Pacers, Clippers, Timberwolves, Lakers taking on Golden State. Golden State's 12-40 on the season. 12-40. Okay, what was it? 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 73 wins. You're now one of the last place teams in the West. All because you guys can't stay healthy. They got to start building up. I hate to say it. I think they need to start building from the ground up. Keep Curry, keep Thompson, and start loading your roster back up. Start training. Sacrifice a year or two. Get them some help. Get them some size, and start over. Because otherwise, you're playing with. You're working on fumes right now. Nuggets taking on the Suns, and the Kings take on the Spurs. That's the late game. San Antonio 2.5. The win by 10. All right. Men's basketball. A couple of good ones this week. Tonight, Illinois taking on Maryland. That's a 29 matchup. Illinois' 3-point favorite. And big Saturday. Kansas on the road at TCU. Florida State, Miami. LSU, Auburn. That should be a good one on ESPN at noon. Michigan State. I actually like Michigan in this game. Michigan State, man, if they lose back-to-back, though, wow. Kentucky, Tennessee, Dayton, St. Louis, Seton Hall, and Villanova. Both teams 17-5. Make or break there. Louisville taking on Virginia. Number 1 Baylor against Oklahoma State. Duke at North Carolina. And the reason nobody's hearing about it is because North Carolina is 10-12 on the season. I wouldn't be surprised if this one's close, but Duke's going to end up winning this one. Iowa taking on Nebraska. Creighton against St. John's. Gonzaga against St. Mary's on the road. I like St. Mary's in the upset. I'll take St. Mary's in that one. UCLA, Arizona, and finally, 10:30 at night, Pacific. We got Oregon and Oregon State. Good rivalry. I like Oregon. Oregon State keeps it close, though. And also mentioning the XFL, and also UFC 247, Jones versus Reyes. My prediction on this one is that if Reyes wants any chance to win this fight, he's got to think about this. He's got to know this. You are not going to beat John Jones in any aspect of MMA. You're not going to be better than him in any aspect. He's going to be a better wrestler than you. He's going to be a better striker than you. His jiu-jitsu is better. His clinch game is better. His pressure is better. The only way that Reyes wins this fight, you got to go guns blazing. You flat out have to say, hey, if he knocks me out, he knocks me out. I am not going to be able to go 5 rounds against John Jones and put him away. He's got too good endurance. He's got too good of movement. If you watch him lately, he's like the Floyd Mayweather. He's no longer looking for the knockout kill. He's looking to really show his talent without getting punched. He knows he's better than you. And everybody's got to know that he's better than you. You got to go guns blazing. Try for the knockout early. Put the pressure on him. Do not. I understand that Dominic Reyes is really good at fighting backwards. But if he stays, I'll know within the first minute of this fight whether or not Dominic Reyes has a chance. If he's standing backwards, because I said this about Thiago Santos. I said, look, he's a powerful dude. He's got a heavy hands. But if he starts going backwards against John Jones, he's going to end up getting beat. He ended up tearing his ACL twice. He did actually end up winning by split decision because one of the judges actually had him winning the fight, which I thought was crazy, but he did win 2 rounds on my book. But you got to come guns blazing, Reyes. If you want any chance of dethroning John Jones, you got to just flat out go for broke. Otherwise, he's going to do what he does to everybody. He's going to school you for 5 rounds. And if he doesn't go 5 rounds with you, he's going to submit you in 3. So it should be an interesting fight. Reyes is undefeated. He's looking better and better after each fight. It's worth watching. Check it out. It's on pay-per-view, ESPN Plus. Then the co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko, my girl, against Caitlin Shukukin, who's 13-2. She's she's a plus 500. Valentina is a minus 1,200 favorite, which I believe is the biggest on the card. And with rightfully so, because if you've seen Valentina Shevchenko fight, she is as precise striker as you will find. Her every aspect of MMA she's great at. I think this is a road to a rematch with Amanda Nunes, which I think she could beat Amanda Nunes. But watching Valentina Shevchenko fight is a true blessing. She's just that good. She's that smart. She's one of the smartest fighters, probably one of the smartest fighters since GSP as far as game planning. She knows what she's going to do. She knows what your weaknesses are. She's going to come in there and she's going to take your head off. And I don't know enough about this Caitlin Shukukin to say that she's going to stand any kind of a chance. Because if you want to beat her, you have to have some serious skills. And a unanimous decision victory, split decision victories don't get it. It ain't going to get it done, and not against Valentina. She's too good. And the rest of the main card, you got Juan Adams versus Justin Tafa, Mirsad Bekik versus Dan Ainge, and Derek Lewis versus Alir Latifi, who I believe is making his heavyweight debut. So the Black Beast looking to get another knockout. He's a minus 250 favorite. I think he gets the knockout. He shows Latifi what it's like when you have to move up from light heavyweight to heavyweight. Should be an interesting night. Should be a great weekend. I am tapped out, ladies and gentlemen. I'll try not to stutter anymore on this podcast, but I'm definitely going to be doing it. So be sure to tune in, tell a friend. Just go to Box Score Media on YouTube and look up the Box Score Media podcast, and you'll hear my beautiful voice every Monday and Friday. So have a good weekend. Check out the UFC. Check out the XFL. Let me get your feedback on the comment section, and I will catch you on Monday, players.